Our next writer is right there. Wayne E.J. Johnson. Wayne has had a dozen or so articles and short stories published in places such as Tooling and Production. I'm guessing that wasn't a short story. The Chicago Tribune, the Herald, Rivulets, and online in Combat, and the journals of Father Nick Thomas. He has ghostwritten 2 books, one of which was for the founder of Oil Express, and currently writes a bi-weekly humor column for The Voice. He wrote a screenplay that was a recent runner-up in Screencraft's screenplay contest out of over 1,000 entries. You can find out more about Wayne at his website, waynej.wordpress.com. Wayne, please, come on up.
Thank you. It's nice to see so many smiling faces out here tonight. Hopefully you'll still be smiling when I'm done here. I also have a holiday-themed piece. It's from my past as in the entertainment industry, and I think you'll find it rather touching and heartwarming. It's called The Incredible Exploding Jewish Santa Claus. Traverse City, Michigan marked the close of 2 weeks of Christmas magic shows performed twice daily by our itinerant troupe of magicians and clowns for the benefit of charitable groups across Indiana and Michigan. I was the musical technical director, doubling as Cheyenne, Mysterious Prince of the Orient. Benjamin Hoffman and his partner Doug were the fat and skinny members of a clown team. Because Ben possessed the necessary corpulence, he arranged with Hal, the show promoter, to portray St. Nick, or Santa Clauski, as he preferred to be called, for a few extra dollars. Hal provided him with a brand new $400 crushed velvet Santa suit. Before each show, Ben, in his Santa attire, would circulate through the audience, mingle with the small fry, and accumulate Christmas wishes. He delighted in broadening and emphasizing his mild Yiddish accent while performing sleight of hand. As clowns during the show, he and Doug did their slapstick routine, and then at the end, Ben was back in his Kris Kringle suit to hand out small gifts to the kiddies as they exited. Ben's final appearance was always dramatic. As the curtains parted, he entered at center stage in the midst of a small snowstorm precipitated by a homemade snow gun. The gun was a short, triggered black pipe loaded with an explosive charge and packed with white confetti, and then when it fired overhead, it looked like snowfall. Ben didn't realize it then, but he was about to carve out his own niche in local folklore by way of a cataclysmic event that is today still recounted around crackling hearths over mugs of hot spice cider throughout the great North Country. Now, from the onset of the tour, Ben had been having his share of bad luck. It snowed on his way all the way from his drive from New York, making travel hazardous and slow. Somewhere in Ohio, he had to buy 4 new tires for his used van he just purchased a week earlier. Then late one snowing Michigan night, as our caravan wound its way over the icy roads to the next town, the reflection of Ben's headlights disappeared from my rearview mirror. I swung around back down the 2-lane road and saw a rather macabre sight. It was Ben, standing by the side of the road with his thumb out, his clothing in tatters. Blood dripped from various cuts and abrasions. I didn't see Doug anywhere. I pulled over and rolled down my window. "Excuse me, but would you happen to have a 3-foot Band-Aid?" Ben asked, grinning. I drove him and Doug to the nearest emergency room, and between the two of them, they sustained a sprained ankle, a fractured arm, and required 65 stitches to close up new and non-essential openings in their bodies. The van had to be torched to pieces to remove the show equipment they carried. Without further mishap, we arrived in Traverse City. I had been warned that for some unknown reason, the children here were always unruly, almost to the point of being bloodthirsty. Earlier, I thought of using wolfsbane and a crucifix to maintain order, but I missed the opportunity to pick up either. "Listen to those weird sounds out there," Sandai said to Ben. He peeked through an opening in the curtains out into the audience. "It's like something from Dawn of the Dead. I'm not going out there that much of a crazy, I'm not," he said. It's showtime, Hal called from the left wing of the stage. Ben, you better get out there before they eat the seats. All right, already, I'm going. He swung his trick bag up over his shoulder, smoothed his white beard, and cast a glance heavenward. What's a nice kosher boy like me doing in dreck like this? He mumbled, and he walked around the curtain, down the stairs, and out into the snarling, cloying juvenile mass. I took the stairs on the opposite side and seated myself at the organ. Ben squeezed through the rows of the auditorium seats while the children clawed at his beard and his red jacket. As he neared the end of one row, close to where I played background music, one rampageous little girl kept jumping and grabbing at the hair on the back of his head. He finally wheeled around, leaned over, and in a pleasant tone with a sugary smile asked, "What's your name, little girl?" "Joanne!" she screamed. "Joanne, you little schmagegi, how would you like it? How would you like it if Santa Claus beat the shit out of you already?" She didn't answer, but just slowly melted down into her seat. The afternoon show with the out-of-control audience had tested the patience of all of us, and it had now thankfully reached its finale, the awe-inspiring reappearance of that great gnome from the north. Ben stood backstage next to me in my Chinese getup, muttering and cursing the maniacal children out front, and all the while stuffing gunpowder into his snowstorm cannon. "So, those little creeps want to make a schlemazel out of Santa Clauski, huh?" he grumbled. "I should give them something they won't forget. I should blow the whole bunch of them into August with this thing." Ben stuffed in more powder, then packed the pipe solid with white confetti and walked to the center of the stage. He held the pipe in front of him at the ready and waited for the curtains to part. The MC strode across the stage in front of the curtains and then stood a little bit off to the right, stage right. "Well, that's about it for today, boys and girls, but wait a minute. What's that I hear? Is it sleigh bells? Why, yes, it's. He was cut off in mid-sentence by a deafening, thunderous explosion, the apparent detonation of some unthinkable doomsday device. The front curtains ballooned outward, then belched a great cloud of white smoke and confetti onto the front rows. On cue, a stagehand pulled the rope that slowly parted the curtains. The smoke began to clear, revealing a hazy blackened something that resembled a large fuzzy lump of charcoal. The smoke dissipated further, and I could see that the fuzzy charcoal was actually Ben. He looked like a fat, wily coyote whose latest scheme to catch the roadrunner in some devious trap had gone horribly wrong. His head and eyebrows were gone. What remained of his Santa beard smoldered and stood out at right angles to each side of his head. The bright red Santa jacket was mostly a memory, save for the cuffs and some shreds around his waist, which hung down over the wide black belt. In front of his smoking chest hairs, he held the charred remnants of the trigger portion of his snow gun. The rest of it had been vaporized. Burnt confetti drifted slowly down on him from somewhere up in the curtains. The MC ran back to him. "What happened?" he cried to Ben. He turned to me and then back to Ben. "Are you all right?" Ben cautiously began to move. His head went slowly downward as he surveyed the damage. When he saw that his chest hairs were still smoldering, he dropped the trigger and frantically beat out the embers. "Close the curtains," the MC yelled, waving his arms. I had lost my Chinese hat and both my contact lenses in the explosion. I pushed the awestruck stagehand out of the way and groped for the rope. I pulled the curtain closed as fast as I could. Again, the MC asked Ben, "Are you all right?" "You should be all right," Ben sighed. "What happened?" "The Michigan snow gun blew up." The crowd in front, dead silent since the big boom, began to murmur back to life. Gradually, they started to applaud and cheer. Hal burst through the curtains, almost running into Ben. He took one look at Ben and then stepped back. "My God, are you okay?" In the instant before Ben could reply, the image of the once beautiful Santa suit must have sprung to prominence in Hal's brain. Reality hit. Tears welled up in his eyes. My suit. My $400 Santa suit. He turned to me with a glazed expression. "Did you know this suit wasn't even 2 weeks old yet?" Out front, the children screamed, "Yay, Santa, more, more." Ben, still smoking, turned and painfully walked towards his dressing room. Hal followed, shaking his head and saying to no one in particular, "I picked the fabric out myself. My suit, And contrary to what his appearance suggested, Ben suffered only minor burns and the loss of some body hair. The last I saw of him was at the bus station as he and Doug boarded to head back east. "This tour is really a nightmare for you, wasn't it?" I asked. "A nightmare? What nightmare? Just because I have a broken arm, cuts and burns from head to foot, and no more hair on the front of my body, which hurts too much to grow it anyway, and no more van with the new tires, and I'm about $2,500 in the hole? Listen, a tour like this I don't need every day, not even every other day. I will tell you this. Never again will this Chaim Yankel even utter the word Christmas. And if I do, may my tapeworm develop constipation." He stepped into the bus. "Travel well," he smiled back at me. I haven't seen him since, but his legend, the legend of the incredible exploding Santa, persists. How ironically prophetic Ben was when he grumbled that he'd give those Traverse City kids something they would never forget.